Even though topping the Billboard Hot 100 is a major milestone, some songs fade from memory, even though they were chart toppers. In this video, we'll look at 8 of the biggest #1 hits nobody remembers. Thank God I Found You by Mariah Carey. Released in 1999 as part of Mariah Carey's Rainbow era, Thank God I Found You was a weird mashup of artists. Featuring Joe and 98 Degrees, the song combined Mariah's powerhouse vocals with smooth R&B harmonies. It spent 1 week on #1 in early 2000, becoming one of the first #1s in the new millennium. Mariah completely dominated the charts in the 90s. Despite its initial success, the song never achieved the level of Mariah's earlier classics like Vision of Love or Hero. It only spent 4 weeks in the top 10 and fell off in a couple of months. The production of Thank God I Found You was so late 90s and it didn't age well. It doesn't even appear on throwback playlists from that era. Its inclusion of 98 Degrees, a group that has largely been forgotten, and Joe, one of the forgotten R&B hitmakers of the 2000s, also contributed to its fade from relevance. Streaming data confirms the song's obscurity. With just over 70 million streams on Spotify, Thank God I Found You is significantly overshadowed by Mariah's other #1 singles, many of which have reached millions or even billions of streams. While it may have been a decent hit at the time, it has not crossed over into the TikTok generation. This Used to Be My Playground by Madonna. Madonna's 1992 single This Used to Be My Playground was released to support the film A League of Their Own. The song is a slow, melancholic ballad reflecting on lost youth. It was an example of Madonna's early 90s power ballad phase. It topped the Billboard Hot 100, proving her continued dominance as the queen of pop, but it is barely remembered today. With only 17 million streams on Spotify, it is one of the most overlooked chart-topping hits. The song is not really a club banger like her most iconic upbeat hits like a Prayer or Vogue. It is more restrained and soft.
This used to be my playground.
It lacks that instantly recognizable hook, which likely contributes to its minimal cultural impact today. While it resonated strongly with fans at the time, it never became a recurring staple in movies or commercials, which are key drivers of streaming longevity. In the broader context of Madonna's career, This Used to Be My Playground barely registers. It was a transitional moment in her discography, bridging the bold synth-pop sound of the 80s with the more introspective sound of the early 90s. Despite its #1 status, the song is forgotten. This Is the Night by Aiken. Released in 2003, Aiken's This Is the Night debuted at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, selling close to 400,000 copies in its first week, largely fueled by his fame from American Idol. The show was very influential at the time and launched the careers of artists like Kelly Clarkson, Carrie Underwood, and Jordan Sparks. Many short-lived #1s came from that era, like A Moment Like This by Kelly Clarkson, Inside Your Heaven by Carrie Underwood, I Believe by Fantasia, and Do I Make You Proud by Taylor Hicks. Aiken didn't win the show, as he finished second in the second season and gave us one of the most forgettable hits to come out of that show. Despite the immediate success, the song fell out of the top 10 in just 4 weeks. He never fully transitioned into a mainstream pop star after that. It hasn't aged particularly well and feels dated compared to other #1 hits from that era. You can see it hasn't crossed over to this generation by the numbers, as This Is the Night has just 500,000 plays on Spotify, not even reaching a million streams. While it was celebrated at the time, it came in an era where just being on a TV show gave you a hit single, no matter what it sounded like. Trolls by 6ix9ine and Nicki Minaj. After the huge hype of 6ix9ine being released from prison after snitching on his homies, he gained a lot of attention online. He released his second single, a collaboration with Nicki Minaj, Trolls, in 2020. The song dominated the charts for a fleeting moment. It debuted at #1 because of weak competition and the bars buying the song on iTunes, in a campaign to get Nicki her second ever #1 single. Its initial success was because of all that, and not the quality of the song, because it was really awful. Despite debuting at #1, Trolls now feels like a time capsule of a viral moment than a real hit. It is really about nothing, and the weird music video didn't even make it memorable. Even Nicki Minaj's decent verse couldn't save it, as it is often called one of the worst #1 singles of all time. It has struggled to maintain a presence in playlists, as nobody talked about it anymore. In retrospect, Trolls exemplifies how a number one hit can exist almost entirely in the context of hype and short-term attention. It shows that a number one doesn't mean that much anymore, as the song is now largely forgotten outside of news articles or discussions about the most shocking number one debuts of the 2020s. This Is Why I'm Hot by Mims. Mims' This Is Why I'm Hot hit number one in 2007 and initially felt like an unstoppable summer anthem. With 70 million Spotify streams today, it is clear that the song retains some recognition, but its overall impact is non-existent. Mims kinda cheated to get the song to number one, as he sampled the biggest hits from every region of the United States. He even bragged that he could say nothing on the song and it would become a hit.
I don't gotta rap, I could sell a mill saying nothing on the track.
It was celebrated in the ringtone era of rap, making it one of the most played songs on radio in clubs during its peak. But unlike other number one hits from that era, it hasn't maintained its relevance. While it captured hip-hop culture of the mid-2000s, its minimalist production and empty lyrics haven't aged well. It became a cultural moment that was very much tied to a specific year and place in music, which made it one of the most forgettable number ones from that era. Today, it exists as a nostalgic relic for those who were outside at the time, but for younger listeners, it is a number one hit that has slipped from memory. Lately by Divine. The R&B girl group Divine had a moment in the late 90s when their song Lately reached the pinnacle of the charts, spending a single week at the top of the Billboard Hot 100. But in today's streaming era, it barely registers, with just 83,000 streams on Spotify. At the time, its chart success was propelled by radio airplay and physical single sales. Despite that, it has not held up over time, overshadowed by other R&B and pop classics from that era. The production on Lately was emblematic of that era of R&B. It had nothing that made it special. The song lacked a distinctive hook that could have cemented it as a timeless anthem. Without memorable visuals to keep it alive, it quickly became a footnote. Despite its initial success. In the streaming era, a hit needs more than top performance to be remembered. The song simply didn't cross over into this generation. Slime You Out by Drake featuring SZA. Drake has dominated the charts since he first came out, but even he isn't immune to tracks that feel huge in the moment but lose staying power. Slime You Out featuring SZA debuted at number one on the Billboard Hot 100 back in 2023 when it was released as the lead single to his album For All the Dogs. Despite being released just a couple of years ago, it hasn't achieved the longevity expected from a number one hit, with no cultural relevance to speak of other than the controversy with the cover art. The song itself is a smooth, moody R&B infused collaboration. It was designed to be a radio hit, and it performed well in that context, but as a collaboration between two megastars, it was disappointing. The song's quick fade from public consciousness underscores a modern phenomena in an era dominated by TikTok trends and rapid music cycles. Even a Billboard number one can feel fleeting. Slime You Out shows how commercial success at release no longer guarantees long-term recognition in today's music landscape. Romantic by Karyn White. Karyn White's Romantic, released in 1991, is another Billboard number one that hasn't translated into long-term success. The song, with its smooth R&B production and seductive vocal performance, was emblematic of the early 90s love ballads that haven't really aged well in this generation. At the time, the song topped the charts for 1 week and was heavily played across radio stations. But the Karyn song that has aged way better is Superwoman. Romantic has not retained the same level of cultural footprint as other hits from that era. On Spotify, it has less than 3 million streams, far below other hits from the early 90s like Janet Jackson or Whitney Houston. The song has largely faded, as it rarely appears on modern R&B playlists or nostalgic 90s compilations. The song's low streaming numbers shows how some songs can be lost to an era as pop culture moves on quickly. While the song was celebrated in its moment, younger audiences often overlook it. It serves as a perfect example of a number one hit whose immediate success didn't translate into long-term recognition. Which number one hits that nobody remembers now did I miss? Tell me in the comments below.